Hello everyone. Welcome to Secrets Behind the Stars. All the details are in today's video, and if you enjoy it, don't forget to like and subscribe. You can support the channel even more by tapping the join button below. Thank you for being here. Now let's dive in. For weeks, the silence around Mert Ramazan Demir had been the kind of quiet that ignites louder questions. Viewers, journalists, and fans were used to a version of Mert who moved through rooms with certainty and a hint of mystique, a man who rarely let the world see him off balance. Then, without warning, he agreed to an intimate conversation, no lights glaring in his face, no staged charm, just a raw voice and a steady gaze. And in that stripped-down setting, he confessed what many whispered but almost no one dared to claim outright. Afra Sarakoglu had given him back a piece he'd lost, and in doing so, had handed him back his life. His words didn't tremble, but they were saturated with a vulnerability that threw even his toughest critics off guard. He walked us through a story shaped by love, responsibility, distance, and the kind of redemption that arrives when you finally stop running from yourself. He said that in the storm center, where the applause fades and the mirror is unkind, someone had reached for him and refused to let his soul disappear. There are people, he admitted, who arrive to save you precisely when you're convinced you don't deserve to be saved. And somehow, Afra did that, quietly, steadily, without spectacle. For a long stretch, their names, Mert and Afra, were impossible to separate in the Turkish press. Their partnership, born on set and nourished in the twilight between takes, had become a public saga. They weren't just a couple, they were a phenomenon. Photographers chased them, premieres seemed brighter when they appeared, and every whisper of their next project stirred a feverish pulse online. But fame, with its relentless appetite, always demands something in return. Behind the curated images and careful interviews, reality crept in. Sleepless nights, overlapping commitments, hours stolen by schedules, and the persistent strain of being looked at from every angle. What looked invincible from the outside began to show hairline cracks within. They parted without drama. No sly captions, no staged exit, no performance for the cameras. Just a quiet decision to step away, the kind that leaves traces on your face even when your lips refuse to speak. They tried to heal privately. They tried to move with dignity. And yet, pain found a way to be seen, around the eyes in candid photos, in the way they hesitated when asked about what used to be, in the way laughter thinned. Then fate, always the boldest writer in the room, rewrote the scene. It happened abruptly, a sudden collapse, the kind of medical scare that rips the floor from under you. Afra was rushed to the hospital. News spread fast, flaring across timelines, whispered in group chats, shouted in headlines. And that same night, Mert stopped negotiating with his pride. He didn't weigh optics, he didn't consult a PR calendar. He got in the car and drove to the hospital. Under fluorescent lights and a hush that pressed on every wall, he stood by her side. Minutes turned into hours, hours into a sleepless vigil. There were no cameras, no performative tears, only nurses drifting in and out, witnessing a stillness so fierce it felt like prayer. Later, when the interview cameras finally did come, he tried to explain that night. He said everything else fell away. Awards didn't matter. Headlines didn't matter. The applause he used to crave felt like a distant ocean he could no longer hear. All he wanted was to see her eyes open. He stayed because something deeper than reason anchored him to that chair, to that room, to that woman. He stayed because love, when it's stripped of costume and script, is just the stubborn decision not to leave. Afra woke without knowing he had held vigil in the shadows. When she did see his face, tired, pale, a trace of fear threaded through his smile, surprise flickered across hers. Then came recognition. Then something gentler. Neither of them spoke first. They didn't need to. The silence between them became a language that didn't require translation. In the days that followed, devotion replaced drama. Mert handled the small things that grief and exhaustion often turn into mountains. Medication schedules, quiet hours, the murmur of reassurance at odd times of night. He ran interference with phones that wouldn't stop lighting up. He protected the corners of her day from noise. The medical staff, who have seen more human truths than they're allowed to talk about, exchanged glances that said they were witnessing something rare. And Mert, when asked to explain the motive behind that gentleness, answered simply that some loves don't need a microphone. They show up when the room empties. They linger when it's easier to leave. Once Afra was stable and the worry loosened its grip, both of them vanished, intentionally. No big announcements. No coordinated rollout. Just an exit from the loop of public curiosity. They let time do a job that headlines never allow. They learned to look again, without noise, without second-guessing, without trying to win anything. It wasn't perfect. It didn't magically erase the past. But the fractures became maps, reminders of where not to step. They learned that love steeped in humility can survive mistakes, and in surviving, become braver. Mert, with a humility that felt new, admitted that he had once mistaken being wanted for being well. He said success can wrap you in a numbing warmth that hides the frostbite beneath. He said pride sneaks in wearing your best suit. And then life, relentless and precise. Put someone you love on a hospital bed, and suddenly the room refocuses. Your hands remember what matters. Your heart tells the truth you've been dodging. Without her, he confessed, the story doesn't make sense. Weeks later, they re-emerged, not on a red carpet, but at a charity event their foundation organized, an evening dedicated to supporting women at risk. No glitz, no extravagant stage cues. Just a space filled with purpose, gratitude, and people whose faces carried their own histories. Mert wasn't meant to speak, but when the moment arrived, he swallowed whatever fear was left and stepped forward. He didn't read from a teleprompter. He didn't chase perfect phrasing. He talked as if there were only two people in the room, the person he had been and the person Afra had helped him become. He said there are people who teach you what love is, and then there are the rare ones who show you what living with love feels like. He said Afra had done both. She forgave him when he couldn't find the words to ask for it. She steadied him when he stumbled behind closed doors. She reminded him that kindness is not soft, it's the bravest route. The room went quiet, the way rooms do when the truth arrives. People stood, slowly at first, then all at once. Some wiped their eyes. Others clapped with both hands pressed over their hearts. The clips went everywhere. Comment sections turned into little chapels of gratitude for a few days, where strangers thanked a man for telling the truth without armor. Since then, there's been a different kind of calm around them. They don't aim for flawless. They aim for steady. On social media, instead of staged perfection, you catch glimmers of regular magic. A pale dawn over the water, coffee steam fogging a window, a shot of a half-finished puzzle on the table, two mugs side by side, two shadows overlapping on a wall. They look happy, not loud happy, not for show happy, but the kind that breathes quietly and fills a room without asking permission. The press, once hungry for missteps, began to write about their renewal with a tone that bordered on reverent. The couple reborn from chaos, one headline called them, and for once the phrase didn't feel like an exaggeration. Mert, changed in ways you can't measure with metrics, offered a new mantra in interviews. He had what he needed. He said he was done running after ghosts. He had the woman who forgave him, the woman who restored his faith in timing and grace, the woman who met him where he was and believed he could still become more. Afra, for her part, returned to sets with a discernment that surprised even her longtime admirers. She picked scripts where the edges were soft enough to be human and sharp enough to be true, roles that let pain and hope sit side by side. I work differently now, she admitted. I don't chase polish. I chase honesty. The name Mert Ramazan Demir began to carry a new resonance. It still stood for talent, for craft, for the kind of on-screen magnetism that can quiet a room. But it also began to mean evolution. The couple's story stopped being just a romance and started to feel like a mirror held up to everyone watching. It became a reminder that love at its strongest is less about fireworks and more about showing up when the sky goes dark. It is forgiveness that doesn't erase, but restores. It is starting over, not because memory is gone, but because hope is stronger. In the final minutes of that bare interview, Mert said a line that has lived rent-free in a lot of minds since. She offered him a second chance when he felt least deserving of one. She gave back what he thought he'd traded away, and she didn't ask for a trophy in return. He promised, without drama, that gratitude would be the rhythm of his days from here on out. After that, he didn't try to fill the air. He let silence have its moment. The silence was not empty. It was full of meaning, the kind that humbles you. And that's where we leave them for now, not at a happily ever after, but at a truer place, where each day is chosen, not assumed. Where second chances aren't for repeating the old script, but for rewriting the story with clearer eyes and steadier hands, exactly the way it should have been told from the start. Do you believe love can be reborn after a season of ache and misunderstanding? Did Mert and Afra's chapter touch you the way it did us? Tell us in the comments, we always read them. And if you love stories that slip past the glitter and reach something real, subscribe to Secrets Behind the Stars, turn on those notifications, and consider becoming a member by clicking join to keep this kind of work alive. Every like, every note you leave, every new subscriber helps us bring you more tales of love, hope, and brave beginnings. At Secrets Behind the Stars, we believe some stories don't end. They simply find their way back to the light. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, take care and goodbye.